Mother Knows Death, starring Nicole and Jemmy and Maria Q. Kane.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mother Knows Death. We have a great episode for you today. We're going to talk about Abby Lee Miller from Dance Moms, who is suing a popular hospital for negligence, a young beauty influencer with a very unusual gimmick who is now dead, maybe because of that gimmick, a nurse that accidentally killed a baby in a freak accident, just such a terrible story, a man who had his throat cut by the most unsuspecting object. Of course, we're going to get into the case that everybody is talking about, the dad who it appears that he had PTSD and may have killed his 3 daughters, and he's currently on the run. A nasty viral video involving oat milk, and an update on a physician-assisted suicide story that we've been talking about here on Mother Knows Death. So all that and more on today's episode. Let's get started with Abby Lee Miller.
All right, so back in 2020, Abby Lee Miller had surgery on her spine, and after the procedure, she started having abdominal pain and discomfort. So she told the doctors, who of course initially blew her off. She eventually forced them to give her a CT scan, and they found that they left a catheter in her from the procedure.
So Abby Lee had Burkitt lymphoma, which is a rare but really aggressive type of lymphoma. And that kind of particular cancer can cause involvement with the central nervous system. So it is likely, I was just trying to think of like what surgery that she would have had. And they do something called an intrathecal chemotherapy, which is they would put a catheter into the spinal column and they would put the chemotherapy drugs directly into the spinal fluid, which is the fluid that surrounds the spinal cord and brain. So I'm thinking that that's possibly what she had done. But that was back in 2020. So if they didn't remove that foreign object, she obviously would be having pain. Your body reacts to stuff. If this is a normal reaction your body has when there's a foreign object there, that it sees that it's there and it starts freaking out and trying to attack it and build up walls against it. And it could cause all these sorts of problems. Some people can get used to it and they could live with a foreign body for a really long time, even for the rest of their life, and it wouldn't make a difference. But other people really have significant complications with it, and they showed the photograph of what I guess her back looks like, and it looks like a hole that looks it may be infected. And I honestly I think that she's right for this lawsuit. It seems like it was negligence.
Yeah, I mean, we're always criticizing people for frivolous lawsuits, but this is definitely warranted. She's suing Cedars-Sinai and both doctors that worked on her, claiming medical negligence, professional negligence, and medical battery. She's asking for $1.4 million. So I'm always curious how they come up with that number, but I mean, if she's had a lot of subsequent medical bills because of this, then it's warranted.
Well, it also could just be like, because she was in a wheelchair for a while. I don't know if she still is. And this is something like paralysis could be a common thing with Burkitt's lymphoma. So I don't know if she's considered where she is in her treatment with the particular cancer. But if there's been situations where, for example, her back and her abdomen hurt so bad that she couldn't go to work one day, that's something that you would say, okay, well, she lost $500,000 that day for not doing part of her show. I mean, she does the Dance Moms thing and everything, so she can make a significant amount of money doing certain shows or not being able to go to a show for a couple of months to film. So that's probably like lost wages could be in that, and just pain and suffering is also worth a certain amount of money, and then of course any kind of treatment you have associated with it.
All right, so let's move on to this next case. Beauty influencer Guava Shushu, aka Guava Beauty, has died at age 24. So what's really interesting about this case is she was kind of known for eating cosmetics after she applied them to her face, but her family is saying that the hospital ruled out that that was related to her cause of death.
Well, but then what was her cause of death? I'm just curious. Like,
I don't know,
it
because
could very well be, but I'm sorry, when you're seeing someone that's in China, no less, that is known for having products that are not the safest, especially some of their cosmetic products are banned in certain countries because of heavy metals and allergens and different forever plastics and everything like that. Like, you know, forever chemicals that you're kind of like, this woman was eating them.
And they
So-
said it was sudden ailments. So,
Yeah.
like, poisoning, perhaps? I mean,
I don't know, like, so a lot of the, like, something like the forever chemicals and stuff, that would not, uh, and it would not cause an acute death, meaning that you would take it and then you would die right away from it. That's something that you're more considering down the road, like exposure to this over a certain amount of years is going to cause people to have like infertility and get cancer and things like that. So we're talking about, if it is possible that she did, she would have had to ingest enough of a substance that would have caused an acute illness, which meant right away. And that, but we know that there's heavy metals that have been tested in some of these things, which would definitely be a possibility in that case. Um, and like I said, and God knows what other chemicals are in here. I don't know exactly why she would eat blush and lip gloss, but it, you say it's safe to put like on your lips, for example, but it may not be safe to eat in large quantities like that. So that could be a possibility. She also could have died from something else. It's not out of the realm. It's just kind of interesting or ironic that she would post these videos and all the comments underneath would be like, "Yo, you're not supposed to eat that stuff." And now she's dead.
Well, it's really reminding me of this episode of My Strange Addiction where this woman was obsessed with eating nail polish and she was like brushing
Oh
it
my
on her tongue,
God.
drinking out of the bottles. And there was this really horrible part of the episode where she admitted that she had a miscarriage because she couldn't stop doing it when she was pregnant.
Yeah. I mean, there's some nail polishes that have formaldehyde in them, and you certainly do not want to be ingesting that. And like I said, it's safe to an extent, like safe in quotes, to put it on your fingernails. And they do take into consideration that people bite their nails and they might be getting it in their body, but it certainly is not meant to be consumed in large quantities like that.
No, definitely not. I don't know if, like, so I just want to say, because nail polish smells so bad, so I can never imagine, like, having any desire to try it, you know? But I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but when I was, like, really little kid, you bought me this, like, bubblegum body wash or something, and it smelled so good, and I tasted because I was like, it smells good, so it must taste good. But I was also probably 5 or 6 years old. I didn't know better. But I just can't imagine wanting to eat nail polish that smells so horrible
I I
already.
I I did the same exact thing. I remember my mom used to have this really good smelling shampoo in the shower, and I was really little, and you're like, "Oh my God, this probably tastes." You think that it's like a red gel that smells so good, and you're like, "Oh, it's gonna taste like that." You know that candy you get that's like in a toothpaste bottle
Yeah.
that's like the gel candy, and then you have it, and you're like, "Oh God, it's soap." Like, ugh,
Yeah,
and
that's
even
exactly
that,
what happens.
it's the same thing with shampoo and stuff. Like, it's safe that you're washing your hair and a drop might get into your mouth somehow running down your face, but you certainly shouldn't sit there and drink shampoo.
No,
But I
definitely
mean,
not.
that's why My Strange Addiction is such a good show, because it just shows lots of people eating weird shit, and it's great. I love it.
Yeah. All right, so this next story is really sad. Back in March, this baby was born with a heart condition, had to have surgery. She was placed in the NICU, which I'm sure was already so stressful on the family. And then a couple weeks later, a nurse that had been attending to the baby put some of the cords in her pocket, not realizing they were still attached, walked away, and the baby ended up falling off of the table.
I can't. I really, literally cannot believe that this is a true story. It sounds so. It
Well,
sounds so outrageous.
are you saying that's what the hospital came up with to
No, no,
disguise?
I mean, no, I'm sure it did. I just think it's so negligent, like, uh, and and just weird. I mean, think about, the baby was only a month old. I don't know if she was born at term or whatever, but like a baby is still, uh, even if she was born sick or whatever, a baby's still like 5 to 8 to 9 to 10 pounds, like in that first month, right? I mean, that's a significant amount of weight attached to a cord just being in the pocket. Like, I would think that just walking away, the cord would come right out of the pocket. But I really don't understand the setup of it, because even I've never been in a NICU, but I've seen the cradle type of beds. I just don't know how it was set up that you would be able to drag a body from a crib or something and pull the body out onto the floor.
Oh, I thought she was on like a changing table or
I'm not
something, and
I'm
that's
I'm
why it was
really
like
not
more open.
I'm not sure because they said the medical examiner said that it was a fall from a crib.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So just like if you think about that, there is even with those little cradle things that they bring to the mother baby unit with the baby and it, you know what I'm talking about? It's like a little
Yeah.
cart. There's like some kind of walls on the side. So just think if you had, I mean, this is just disturbing to even say it, but just say you had 8 pounds of meat sitting on somewhere. Like think about pulling that off with a cord attached to it. Like it would be, I just think it's weird that the nurse wasn't caught up on something that she didn't notice that there was weight tugging on these cords that were
Well, maybe
attached to
it just
her.
happened so quickly that
I,
she wasn't even
I
able to
know it's just
process it.
I'm just trying to visualize it. And any of you guys that work in the NICU or just like work with little babies and could figure out exactly what happened, I don't know. But the bottom line is it happened. And the mom and dad were by this kid's side all the time, went home to go take a shower or something and get a call that the baby fell.
And died.
How is that even possible? They go back to the hospital and they find out that the baby has a broken skull and they weren't able to revive the baby. The not only a broken skull but a brain bleed. Now, like that would be hard for any little baby to come over, but this baby had a condition called dilated cardiomyopathy, which is when the heart muscle is kind of thinned out and it's in the left ventricle, which is the pump of the heart, and it's not able to pump oxygenated blood correctly throughout the body. So this baby was already healing from whatever kind of surgery and whatever's causing the cardiomyopathy. So you could either just have it and be born with it, or there could be another underlying condition that could cause it. But this baby's in the NICU because she's recovering from having heart disease already. So that just makes it even harder for her to deal with an injury like this. But the manner of death was ruled accidental. It said that she had congenital dilated cardiomyopathy complicated with blunt force head injuries. So when they're ruling the manner of death accidental, they're putting the blame on the hospital and saying that this was an accident. And talk about a lawsuit. I mean, the parents don't even want to think about this at this time. They were talking just before they left to go take a shower about taking the baby home in a couple days.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time understanding exactly what went down too, and I don't know if I don't even know as the nurse how you could live with knowing that this happened. But obviously, if it was an accident, it was an accident. But they need to make sure
It just
things like
seems
this
like an
can't happen.
unforeseen accident. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why you would. Like I said, I don't work there, so I'm not sure why you would disconnect the cords and put them in your pocket. I mean, maybe she needed her hand free for something else, or he needed his hand free. We don't know if it's a male or female nurse. But I just would like more information on how exactly it went down. But I mean, think about a baby falling from a significant height to the ground. Their skulls are already not hard as it is. You know, I don't know if the
Yeah.
baby was born premature. I couldn't find that information.
Well,
But their skull
regardless,
is not as rigid anywhere near a child or an adult. Um, and just the significant trauma that happened, and it it's interesting because I just was searching for this story and I just searched the name of this hospital and they have terrible reviews, and it's a specific hospital designated for children's care in Ohio, and I don't know what's going on there, if there's bad management, they're keeping bad people, or just like bad training, or if this is just a freak accident. It's unacceptable. It's just completely unacceptable.
no, totally. Okay, so a man and a woman were riding their bikes on a New York City bridge last week, and during their ride, they noticed this kite flying in the sky near the bridge, didn't think too much of it, but then as they got closer, the woman was struck by the string of the kite, which cut her hands and her forehead, before then going back and hitting her friend behind her and slicing his throat.
So a lot of people would think, okay, this is really weird for us. I mean, the only kites that I've ever flown are ones that you get on the boardwalk or something, and they're just like string that's not even as thick as a shoestring, right? But this is they were using like these fight kites. You know what that is?
Well, I never heard of it before this article, and I just was having a hard time wrapping my mind around it. So explain what it is.
So you could do something called a kite fight, which is the strings are wrapped in all different sorts of things, but sometimes it's like a glass coated string, or there's like glue on the string that they put fragmented pieces of glass over, so it makes them sharp. And the two kites can fly and cut each other's kite with the string because it's so sharp. It's literally as sharp as a knife. So I don't know. I was trying to look it up and I really couldn't find any information because I would think personally that that shouldn't even be legal to be able to fly anywhere near people. And the reason I say this is because it's not really a freak accident as much as you would think it was, because in countries where they do these kite fights, it's much more common to injure people. I had a case in the grocery room years ago. So if you guys are members, or if you join now, if it's on sale for $20, you could search for kite. And when you search for kite in there, you'll be able to see a couple cases that I have in there. And one of them was, well, let me talk about this one that happened today, actually. So as I was writing up this case and doing the notes for this case, I had an alert come through my phone, and another story like this just happened in Brazil, like this week, where a father of 3 was riding a motorcycle. There was one of these, thought it was like these harmless kite strings in the road, drove through it, and it wrapped around his neck, sliced his throat open, and he died. Critically wounded from this.
See,
Same
I
exact
don't
thing.
blame people for going near them and not thinking twice, because when I see a kite, I think it's like an innocent children's object.
So-
I'm not thinking I'm going to be sliced open from it.
So yeah, so like in America especially, it's very, very, it's very unusual because it's just not common in America. But in other countries, like, so the other case that I had was a case out of India where there was, you're not going to believe this, 6 people died from these kite strings. 6 people, 176 people injured at this event with the kite fights in India. The pictures are crazy. I have in this post in the grocery room showing people that have like their foot partially amputated, their nose partially amputated from these kite strings. So there's parts of Pakistan and India that ban these rightfully so, because they have, obviously they have more experience and more situations where this happens. That's why I was so surprised to read that in America people are using those things too, because I've never heard of that here.
Well, I mean, who's regulating that? If you see somebody flying a kite, are you going to go check the string and make sure it's not the ones that are dangerous strings? I mean, come on. But so do you think in this case, because of how dangerous these are, and there's all these reports about it, that somebody should be arrested in this case for flying it in the path of somebody that did get injured from
I
it?
mean, honestly, I do. Because that person, so the woman who got sliced on her face and knocked her helmet off or went against her helmet, she might have, because we don't know the extent, she might have a scar for the rest of her life on her face, which is whatever. The guy that was behind her is in the ICU and bled out so bad he could have lifelong complications from this. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like it's
yeah, and
like
then
a
at
really
this
big
case-
deal. Like it's almost I would say it's like a negligence, like the same as if you're driving a car and you're being negligent and you hurt somebody. Like
Yeah, like a manslaughter charge.
yeah, exactly. Like I really do, and I think that they'll be able to figure it out. And I mean, you don't just go buy this kite in a store at the boardwalk. So something like this person knew what they had.
Well, I
They
wonder
probably
at the
got
time
it on the
of-
internet. I just like don't even hear of these things happening.
I wonder if at the time of the incident they talked to that person who owned the kite, or if they had already like packed up and walked away, or now they have to do an investigation.
They
of
probably
sorts.
didn't, because I'm not sure how it happened, but if the person was up on the bridge, the other person was probably not up on the bridge.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But when the first responders got there, did they go down on the ground and find who was flying it, or did that
Maybe,
person
because I
leave
mean,
by
I'm
that
sure,
point?
I don't know if the people on the ground even realized what was happening, but you can't can't fly those things around people. There's just so much documentation of it worldwide of causing. I mean, the injuries are crazy. Like, if I showed you a picture of this guy's foot in this post, you would say, "Oh, someone came with a really sharp machete and like chopped it off. It's a clean line." And you're like, "No, it was a kite string."
Well, the learning objective from this story is that kites are way more dangerous than they appear. So approach them with caution, or if
Right?
you see one coming at you, run away.
They're so scary, kites.
This episode is brought to you by The Gross Room.
So, like I said, the Gross Room is on sale this week. We don't usually put it on sale, but it's only $20 for 365 days of gross. And I was looking today, we have over 3,000 posts in the Gross Room that date back to 2019. So, if you're not a member, you definitely should get in because it will keep you busy really all summer.
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult to get through all of the posts we have, especially because we're adding new posts every single day. So there's just constantly new content coming up. And this week we did a really great dissection on Frances Glessner Lee, who's considered the mother of forensics. She was this badass older lady that built these cool forensic crime scene dollhouses. So we go through the pictures, what was going on there, and her history. So you guys want to head over to thegrossroom.com to check that out and sign up.
So this case has been seriously like haunting my dreams this entire week. I couldn't wait to talk to you about it. I don't know what to say. I remember first I had an alert saying that these 3 little girls went on visitation with their dad and they were missing. And whenever you hear kids are missing, it like usually just never ends well. And in this case, it didn't end well. They found the kids dead by an embankment where they were with their father that had, this is so disturbing, but they had zip ties around their hands and they also had bags over their heads.
Well, let's kind of backtrack and get into exactly what happened. So the mom drops 3 daughters off with their father. The kids are 5, 8, and 9 years old. He wasn't allowed to have overnight supervision with them, so he was supposed to return them by 8 o'clock, told the mom he was going to be bringing them back by 8. It gets to be nighttime. The kids aren't back. No word from the dad. She's calling. The calls are going straight to voicemail. This is a Friday. So over the weekend, this part is really bizarre that I want to talk about. So she went to her local police department and said she was really worried about this. And they had contacted the state police to issue an Amber Alert, but they did not do that at first because they didn't think there was any credible threat right at that point. Isn't that bizarre?
It's bizarre, but at the same time, like they were saying that the criteria was met that the kids were under 17 years old, but
that's the whole point of an Amber Alert.
No, there's different things. Other ones were that there must be a reason to believe the person that the children were abducted, and there must be a reason that there was serious imminent bodily injury or death that they thought was going to happen. And when you hear what the mom is saying afterwards, after she's been interviewed, you're going to see why the police did not think that all 3 of those criteria were checked.
Yeah, so
but it is like in hindsight, it's weird, but there was no one telling them like, hey, this guy's going to hurt this kid, because this guy has been he has seemingly been a really good dad. He's been to their events. He has a good relationship with the mom. They consider themselves to be friends. He never beat them, never hurt them. So when they ask questions like that and they don't, you know what I mean? Like, this guy doesn't have a history of like beating the shit out of the mom and being violent and being all this. That's why they didn't think that they wanted to go lightly with it.
I understand that, but if you're getting to the point where it's the middle of the night and you've heard nothing and that's unusual behavior, then that's, like, in my opinion, the entire point of the Amber Alert, because it's an immediate alert when the kids are not found.
And also, like, I guess, and this would be something for law enforcement officers, maybe, like, what's the negative of, like, anytime a parent calls and says, my kid's missing, why does there have to be a criteria? Why can't you just be like, let's put out an Amber Alert, and then if the kid's found safe, we'll put out another alert and saying the kid's fine?
Well,
there's no negative to it, in my opinion.
I agree with you 100%. Just do it. And like in this case, they were wrong, because the following Monday, they found the dad's truck abandoned at a campsite, and they found all 3 kids dead, plastic bags around their head, zip ties around their hands, appears they were suffocated. The dad is totally missing. Like, I guess the leading theory right now is that he might have killed himself and they just haven't found his body yet. But
No, they think he might be on the run too because of Google searches that he had.
yeah, so they
So he
just
had
don't
Google
know
searches
what's going
looking.
on.
He had Google searches that were looking for like questioning about Canada, like how to get to Canada and jobs in Canada, which makes you think that and he was right near Canada, so that makes you think that maybe he would be trying to go there. And all of his family members, including his ex-wife, say that he had extensive military training and would be able to survive in a situation where he had no food or shelter for a long period of time, they believe.
Yeah.
Um, what's so they've done an interview with I'm not sure if it's his wife because it seems like it's her lawyer or representative at this time saying that he's former military. And I guess this is why this case is upsetting me so bad because when you look at the pictures, the guy looks like he's kind of cute and he looks like he's kind of happy. And the girls look like him exactly. Like the one kid is his spitting image. And you just look and think, like, how serious you need to take this kind of stuff. Um, they were married, they were in love, and he was in the military. He was showing signs of PTSD throughout their marriage, and then he started waking up in the middle of the night screaming, like sleeping 1 to 2 hours, night sweats. And this was the comment that came from the representative for the mother, who said the courts did not fail these girls. It wasn't the judge and it wasn't Whitney, who's the ex-wife. It was our system. The wife feels like the system really let Travis down. It's if someone would have provided Travis with the help that he needed, those girls would have been alive before the girls disappeared last week. There were no red flags. He had some mental health issues, some instability in his life that really led to the restrictions as far as the overnight visitation or him taking them out of the area. But other than that, he loved those girls very much. They were able to communicate on a regular basis, like I said. So she really thought that after he was out of the active reserves in 2023 is when things really started getting bad for him. And she even said that he was the one that ended their marriage, saying that he didn't think that he was worth it. And of course, those types of conversations, when people start talking like that, are a little alarming. And she thought it was alarming to the point that she got the visitation change for the kids.
Well,
So something
there's
was
a significant event that happened that changed that custody, which is he had the kids overnight and they stayed in a homeless shelter and he let them walk unattended to a convenience store. So that's what changed the
yeah.
overnight
So
custody
she was just kind of
arrangement.
like, he's not all there, right? But at during all this time, and that happened back in September, like they've been doing this, they've been having great communication. She's been getting them back, and like this is the problem too. When you're divorced and there's visitation and all these situations, the parents are tied as far because if you don't let, even if you're going to hear from this woman, and even if you feel like you didn't want the kids to go see the dad, you're tied, right? That you can go to jail if you don't let your kids do the visitation with the guy. Um and I don't think that she felt it was that bad. She thought she's even knowing that he probably killed her 3 children, she's saying positive things about him. She feels she feels terrible because she said that he was in the military and was not able to get treatment through veteran services. And I'm sure she feels bitter about it too because it ruined her marriage. Her kids are now dead and she saw something break inside of him because of his experience being in the military.
Well, I think sometimes it's hard to be angry with somebody that you know is mentally ill and it's not their conscious choices.
Yeah, I know. So it's like so
Not that she's
you
not
know,
properly grieving her children and not mad and
no, I'm
devastated by
sure
the situation, but
I can't even imagine how you would feel. And then she probably feels terrible because she felt like maybe there was something she could do to prevent it. And you know, there's all these different thoughts that go through your head, but just hearing about it, you just see this whole family shattered and broken by this, and it's really just sad to look at. Um, so I don't know like where the guy is now, but now he's armed and dangerous, blah blah blah, or he may be armed, they're saying, and we don't know where he's at as of today.
yeah, I mean, he's been on the run since, if he's still alive, since May 30th. I mean, today is June 10th, so it's been a while. Over a week and a half.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll keep you guys updated on this story. It's just like I don't know why it's bothering me so bad. It just seems
Well, you have
it
three
seems sad.
daughters. You had a custody arrangement with me. It's easy to place yourself in this woman's shoes.
Yeah, I do, and I know lots of people that have custody issues, and it's just sad, but the way that they were killed, it's just thinking about kids having their hands tied and having a bag over their head and not being able to breathe and remove it. It's just it's so disturbing, and you have to wonder like what was going through his mind to do this.
Okay, so over the weekend in Vegas, people heard gunshots near the Bellagio fountains, and it ends up that this whole thing was on a live stream where this guy just like walked up and killed these two people on the street. It turns out that they had some online dispute, but the guy has turned himself in now.
Yeah, so the guy, I guess one of the people was named Finn the Legend. So he was the one that was live streaming. Did you see the video?
I saw the video. I thought it was like a casino live stream of some sorts. I didn't realize it was a
No,
person
he
doing
was
it.
filming the video, and then the guy shot the one guy, and it was like I don't know if it's a husband and wife or a boyfriend girlfriend, like a partner situation, whatever, but um you could hear her screaming like, "Are you effing kidding me? Are you effing kidding me?" After the guy shot her guy, and then all of a sudden the camera went down and that was it, and then she got killed too. So apparently they just had some like online, I don't really know exactly what it was about. That
Yeah, it was just like a vague online dispute.
Yeah,
Which
I mean, they
prompted
said
this
it's been
guy.
going on for years. One of them pepper sprayed another one, and then on the video said, "I'm glad it wasn't. It was just pepper spray because I thought it was bullets or something like that." So, um, clearly they've had something going on back and forth. I don't know what caused that to happen. And you just sit there and think, like, why would anybody, especially on film, like you're not getting out of it, right? But why would you throw your whole life away to kill somebody like that? And it, another part of it is scary. Like we were just in Vegas. One of my best friends lives in Vegas. And you sit there and you look around and everybody's walked by that. You could see the little balloon from the Paris Hotel in the background, um, and you don't want to think that you're just walking up the street and someone's going to start shooting 7 bullets. That's what there's 7 gunshots right out front, like not super late at night, and it's scary.
I don't know if that's that shocking in Vegas that something like that
I
would
don't
happen
think
on the strip.
but I don't think it happens that often. Like Vegas is, I feel like maybe I'm being totally naive that
I
it
think
seems
you're
like it's
totally naive. I think really fucked up shit goes down in
oh
Vegas
I
all
think
the
I
time in
think
public
I think
spaces.
things go down because there's just a lot of alcohol and gambling and money and drugs
Well, the main
probably,
thing
but
there is drugs. But I don't know. I wasn't very surprised by this. I actually can't believe there's not more shootings. I think the interesting component of this is that it was caught on a live stream like that. Um, I don't know. I think it's ironic that you can't go live for the endless 365-day ban that you have, but
you're just
people can
like
live stream
we just can't.
murders.
Yes, exactly. We just can't get over that I'm banned from live streaming.
Well, it's just
Streaming.
it's just such a stupid rule when you're not even technically breaking the rules. They just deem you are. I don't know. I all I'm thinking when we're writing the notes for this case is being a cop in Las Vegas must be the most ridiculous job of all time. The
Also,
things
I
people
don't know.
see.
I think like it's the same. It's the same with being a PA in pathology, right? Like being in the city in a hospital is way more entertaining as far as pathology goes. It's not good for the patients, but it's good for if you're into pathology because people are addicts, they don't take care of themselves, whatever, and it's just they don't go to the doctor, they don't have insurance, but it makes for really good pathology in the hospital. It, listen, if you're a cop in like a clean little town that the biggest crime they have is I don't even know, like a child shoplifting from a convenience store, it might be a little boring. So I think that cops in Vegas are, although it is crazy, they probably love it. It's the same like Gabe feels that way about being a fireman. Like, he doesn't want to work around here. He wants to work in the city where there's lots of fires because he wants to go to fires. That's usually when you're doing a job like that and you have passion, you want to be where the action is, you know?
Well, my husband always like talks to everybody he makes eye contact with too. But when we were in Vegas, he got to small chat or to small talking with a cleaning person on the elevator at the hotel we were staying at, and she's like, "Oh, it's a rough night. You can't even believe the stuff we see here." And
Yeah,
I
well, it's
think
probably like on the lines of Diddy parties, just like semen
well,
and baby oil and weird shit and
that's
piss all over.
this is the book everybody wants, is the crazy shit the hotel staff sees that the public doesn't get to see when they go in the rooms when people check out.
I
I would
know,
be very fascinated by
right?
that. Yeah. I'm gonna push for any Las Vegas hotel staff. You gotta push for a publication of a book. Everybody wants to know what goes on behind the scenes.
All right, this next story is talking about a viral video of some woman who thought that her oat milk that she was making with her coffee in the morning tasted a little off, and she made this video that's now gone viral about what happened when she opened the box of the oat milk.
So I think everybody's been there when you might use milk out of your fridge or whatever to make your coffee and it tastes a little off, but you're like, whatever, it's not bad enough. So that's what happened to her. The next day she makes it again and is like, this is disgusting. I'm going to investigate a little further. So she cuts open the container of the oat milk that she just used, and she's explaining how it's disgusting. And I'm watching this TikTok and I'm reading the comments that are saying this is the nastiest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, whatever. I've seen moldy stuff before. Like, it can't be that bad. This is actually horrific looking.
It is, and I think it's because it's like this gelatinous, moldy material that is inside, and just thinking that she was drinking something and having chunks in her drink from this whatever is happening here. I think that's really what is the most disturbing part of the video. And there are lots of comments too underneath. Also, if you search for this on Reddit, you'll see that there's a lot of different pictures of people using different brands and showing similar findings.
Did you see that somebody said they screenshot it, reverse image searched it, and it said it was basal cell carcinoma? Like, this is literally what this looks. It looks like something on a petri dish.
It really does. It looks like a mold growing on a petri dish. It's crazy. So the interesting things that I found looking up some of this stuff, I wanted to see if this was a thing with oat milk. And apparently in 2020, oat milk really blew up with sales going over 500%. Wait till you hear why. This is classic. Apparently almond milk was, quote, canceled due to using up too much water to produce it. So if you talk to Gen Z about it, you would be accused of not caring about the environment, and oat milk became synonymous with being a conscientious, super conscientious consumer.
Whoever left us the review about the gluten health misinformation that seemingly was working for Big Bread that just didn't like what we had to say is also not going to like what we have to say about oat milk. I mean, in my knowledge, there's not much nutritional benefit to drinking oat milk. It's a good alternative for people that have like nut, soy, and dairy allergies. That's it. I personally don't think it tastes that good. It's a lot of calories. I don't know why almond milk's canceled. It's delicious.
Cancels milk. Almond milk was canceled. Like, this is a serious article.
Well, I didn't get the memo, but maybe because I'm a boomer and some.
Well, you're not being a conscientious consumer because you don't care about the environment. See, this is exactly why I'm hesitant to do this bun tutorial that everybody has been asking me to do for years, because as soon as I do it and people see that I'm using aerosol hairspray, there's going to be like some trying to cancel me for that or whatever. But seriously, like, people only in 2020 could you cancel milk. And of course you're canceling it for something that has no nutritional value whatsoever. It's just, I mean, like, listen, like, oat milk tastes good and stuff, but it's high in calorie and it has no protein. It's like there's absolutely no point. It's definitely not any kind of an alternative to milk whatsoever. And I guess soy milk is the best one, but I could see people don't want to have it because of the increased estrogens. I mean, that's kind of a real concern, but also people have soy allergy too. So I guess with the oat milk, they're saying that it comes sterilized in the container when the lid is shut. So the only time it can have exposure to having bacteria or to having fungus is if the lid is let open. And we don't know the story with this girl, and this is why it's kind of unfortunate that this isn't done with a real study. This is just like a TikTok person that's posting their experience, but I'm just putting it out there that it's possible that she made milk and left it out on the counter with the lid off like all day and then was like, "Oh shit, I forgot to put this away," and then put it in the fridge and then that's what happened.
Well, I
Cuz
think too
we don't have a
because
control of that, you know?
well, I think also because it's non-dairy, people think it's safer to leave out for longer periods of time.
One thing that I did learn though, which is interesting, is that when you have these kinds of milks, you should try to keep them in the coldest part of the refrigerator, which ironically would not be the door because the door is the warmest part of the refrigerator. And probably most people keep that kind of stuff on the door.
Yeah, I would say that's probably right.
So
Especially because I feel like the fridge I have is one that's really common, like the double door, with the
yeah,
big shelves on it. So
that's what I'm saying. Like that's where most people would keep milk and things like that, and that is probably the worst place to keep it. So I guess it's just gross, and I don't know. Like you've opened milk before, and it smelled bad, and you're like, all right, this is it's even if the date is off. Just sometimes you have a bad batch or whatever, but there's nothing as gross as this picture of the oat milk. Like, no thanks. I'd rather drink spoiled milk any day than look at that.
well, I
That just looks like it's because it's gelatinous. Everything that's gelatinous is just nasty.
I just don't think that. I mean, I could be wrong, but I use primarily almond milk, and I've definitely had it past the expiration date. But I don't think it gives off the same rancid odor that regular milk does when it's bad. So unless it's like physically
Well,
changed color or something,
It
it would
it
be hard to
probably
tell.
has, like, a twinge of a different taste. Obviously, it's not going to smell like milk because it's not milk, it's not an animal product
No,
that
I'm just saying, like, I don't think like milk that it gives a similar rancid odor, but it definitely will taste bad. But you already may have
Do
drank
you
it
remember
before.
do you remember so my brother has a house in the mountains, which is kind of, like, 3 hours away from us in Pennsylvania, right? And he stops at this farm sometimes and he gets like he gets farm milk to bring home, and it's usually like really good because it's not pasteurized, probably that's why it's good. It tastes like really creamy and stuff. But he got chocolate milk for the kids. Do you remember that?
Wait,
And
the best is that I drank it first and
so
was like,
Maria
this is
Maria
bad.
drinks it and she's like, "Ew, this tastes like farm, like hay or something." And I was like, "No, it doesn't." And I'm like, "Let me try it." And it did. It just tasted like chocolate on top of the smell of like a cow and hay and poop. I don't even know
Yeah,
what.
it wasn't the traditional spoiled taste. It
No,
tasted
it
like
tastes
hay
yes.
water. Like
It
I can't explain it.
it was so freaking gross, and then I'm like, now I'm forever tainted. I'm like, you know what? I put the more chemicals and process you do to this milk, the better. I never want to taste that again. That was disturbing.
No, that was gross. Okay, our final story. Of course, this came out after we wrote about physician assisted suicide
Yeah,
last week.
like days afterwards.
Yeah. So last year we had talked about this woman who died in the sarcopod, which is this chamber designed for people to kill themselves by pressing a button to release gas. We go really into this case in the post in the gross room. But it ended up being extremely controversial because when they did an autopsy on this woman, there was signs of strangulation and there was like what happened? Did she actually die from the gas or did somebody kill her? So the doctor involved with this case, Dr. Floridian Willett, he was arrested and I think in December they proved that he didn't have anything to do with like a homicide or anything. But now he's died by suicide.
So this is what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to go in this pod and you push a button and then it drops the amount of oxygen from 21% that's normally would be in the air to 0.05% in less than 30 seconds. And that's supposed to cause the person to pass out. And then this nitrogen gas is released that will eventually cause the person to die. And the guy that we're talking about right now was the only witness to watch this first suicide death in this pod happen. And apparently he called the maker of the pod into it like 2.5 minutes into it. Her body started to cramp, and then there was a loud alarm that went off. So he called the creator of the pod, I guess basically trying to be like, oh my God, she's not dead. What the hell do I do? And there was like something happened on the phone call or whatever. She's still alive, Philip, he said. And then she eventually died. And he said, oh, well, she looks dead. I don't know, whatever. Okay. So you would expect the autopsy would show that she had signs of hypoxia. And then that was her cause of death, was that she died from a lack of oxygen, right? And no, they found something that said that there was strong evidence that she was strangled. So you don't get, when they say that, that means that there's marks around the neck, there's hemorrhage and bruising around the neck, suggested that somebody put their hands around her neck. You don't just get those bruises. They don't get there, and they're very specific. Sometimes you could even see like handprints, thumbprints, or something like that. So on the skin, that leave bruises, and then you would see hemorrhage in the strap muscles below. You could also find that the hyoid bone is broken. We don't know exactly what they found, but they were kind of suspicious, and he was in jail because of it. And then in January, apparently he fell from a third story of his apartment. They don't know if he fell or they don't know if he jumped, but he survived whatever it was. And he had surgery and stuff and was laying there healed. And now all of a sudden he himself had physician assisted suicide. So I don't know if he was trying to kill himself. I mean, that makes me think even more that she didn't die and he was like, I got to finish this off. And it's not happy that they investigated the death. Like maybe he thought that since she was found dead in the pod that would have been the end of it, but they investigated it and now he got caught.
I mean, the headline's crazy, which is their goal at the press, right? Euthanasia advocate dies by suicide after being involved with this extremely controversial death, then having this weird quote unquote accident where he fell 3 stories and then had to have all these surgeries, and now, you know, he didn't want to go through with it. So it's definitely weird, but
that's a good dissection we did in the gross room though. So check that out because I mean, that's only one small part of it. We go through all of the different methods and really the whole entire thing of it's disturbing. But from this guy's perspective, like he told this woman push the button and she was supposed to die and then she wasn't dying and she was alive still. So he was trying to like, if indeed he did strangle her, he was trying to like finish the job and end the suffering.
Well, I mean, like,
but like that's not okay, and that's not the protocol. And he might have been the person. I mean, listen, like if there was evidence that she was strangled and there were bruising, then that means that she was alive while he was strangling her.
Yeah, but he got cleared of murder. Also, when they invent this pod, is there a human test subject or was that her? Like, did they know for a fact it even worked, or was she doing the experiment?
We could say that about all of the physician assisted suicide methods that like they don't always go according to plan. And that's what we talk about in the post about just horrific experiences people had with their family members doing this. So,
I mean, honestly, this method is so much worse than euthanasia, because euthanasia, you're at least getting like the injection, right? That takes you out, similar to what prisoners are getting.
Yeah. And then you're paralyzed and you're having pulmonary edema and feel like you're drowning to death and die.
Listen, I'm not saying that's an awesome method, but it's better than taking 100 pills in like an hour. Or in this case, being in this pod that doesn't work.
So you would prefer to be paralyzed and just feel like you're drowning and you can't even communicate to anyone? Like, I don't know.
Overtaking 100 pills that might not work either, and then suffering in a whole different type of way.
Get on to the questions.
Let's move on to questions of the day. Every Friday at the @MotherKnowsDeath Instagram account, you guys can head over to our story and ask whatever you want. First, is spontaneous human combustion a real thing?
So I would say no. We actually did a high-profile death dissection on this at the gross room a couple of years ago. So I'll give you some information from that post, but you should really read the whole thing because it's interesting and it has some actual cases and shows a lot of the theories about what people think versus people. There are people who think it is a thing, and then there's people who don't think that it's a thing. So let's talk about the people who do think it's a thing. So what happens with spontaneous human combustion is that a person dies in a very unusual way. And that's why I want you to see the cases and look at what the people look like. But it's 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 weird because their whole entire body, their upper body is burned almost to ash, and sometimes their legs are completely intact, and like the couch they're sitting on isn't really burned, and the rest of the room isn't really burned. And you look at it and say, okay, if a human body is going completely to ash, that means that it has to reach a temperature of over 3,000 degrees. So if that happens, you would expect to see the room being really burnt up a lot more than it is. So they think that it's something that's happening within a person that's causing a fire. So what they're saying is that they think that ketosis is a possible cause of this. And this is a metabolic condition that can happen in alcoholics, diabetics, or people that are on a low carb diet. You've even heard of ketosis. And the ketosis can lead to a volatile acetone being breathed out by the person, which is highly flammable. And they think that that could be the cause of this spontaneous combustion. Now, people that disprove it, they also say that that's possible, that's a possibility, but there has to be some kind of a flame source. So people are saying that it's likely due to a candle, a lamp, fireplace, a cigarette, especially, and also could be seen. So there's a demographic, like how we were talking about when I was saying that I don't believe SIDS is a thing because it's a certain demographic of people that it happens to. Well, suppose spontaneous human combustion is a certain demographic of people. They all of them, almost all of them are chronic alcoholics, obese, and incapacitated in some way. And another interesting thing is that these scenes, they find this weird oiling, like waxy coating on the walls and ceilings. So they're saying that it's like almost like the person catches on fire, and it's almost like a wick effect that you would see with a candle because of a person's fat. It's a similar thing that you would use to make candles. And it's causing the people to burn, and all of the wax is ending up on the walls and stuff. It's really, really unusual. But it's a very fun, high profile death dissection to read with real life cases and pictures of people that have been accused of spontaneously combusting. So it's pretty cool.
All right, is doing your gel nails under a UV light without protection a real concern?
Personally, I think that probably is. But there's the FDA is saying that it's low risk if you're reading the label. I personally think though, like someone like me, like I've been getting my nails done since I was like 13 years old, going every 2 weeks for the most part, except during the pandemic. And it's a lot of exposure. There's definitely people that think that you should people that I know that either sell these like certain gloves that only leave your fingernails exposed, or that put suntan lotion on their hands before putting their hands under the light.
Somebody told me one time their salon put suntan lotion on their hands, and I was blown away by that. I hadn't even thought about it, and now I worry
I think about
it.
it because it's the same kind of theory. It's not the same exact thing, but it's the same kind of beams that are used in tanning beds. And so the FDA right now says that it's safe, and you could take that with a grain of salt because I'm sure they've said lots of things that are safe that are not safe. So there was a study done by a group called RadTech, and they showed studies out of Massachusetts General Hospital and Brown University, and it said, quote, typical nail salon exposures are well within the limits of permissible daily UV exposure, and that one would need 250 years of weekly nail maintenance in order to have enough that would increase your risk for cancer. So I don't know. Like, I don't know what to say. I mean, I still go and get my nails done because I think the risk is worth it, honestly.
Well,
but
I guess if you're
even
really
though I'm a
worried
person
about it,
that
just
like
put suntan lotion on if you're really concerned about it, or
yeah.
get the gloves.
Yeah, I mean they sell. You could probably get them on Amazon. They're like fingerless, or just use any fingerless gloves would probably be fine if it doesn't penetrate the fabric. But and really, like even the one that I have at my house, it only fixes the polish for 60 seconds. So it's a quick thing. And there are ones that are made to be safer and not, but I wouldn't trust that the one at your salon is, so I don't know.
All right, last. What kind of wedding cake did you both have?
Mine was a simple cake from this bakery in South Jersey that's really, really good. And it was a cannoli cake, and it just said "To death do us part." It was a little 10-inch cake that fed the 10 people at my wedding, and that was it. And it was probably $40.
Yeah, I also had a cannoli cake that our great family friend Lynn made for us, and it was the most delicious cake ever. And then that was gluten-free. And then for the rest of my dessert, I just bought like a ton of cookies and stuff from a bakery in South Philly that I love for everybody else.
Yeah. And then her wedding topper was the best part because where did you get that?
Oh, I got this vintage cake topper on Etsy because it had like crazy eyebrows, which I'm always saying my husband's like eyebrows are crazy and he looks like angry all the time. So I bought it because of that. And I asked if you could just paint the hair red because the guy on the topper had black hair, I guess. It's like a porcelain 1960s one. So then you spent an entire day painting it to look like both of us.
Yeah, that was fun.
I'll put it in the broadcast channel.
I was like, post that in one of our stories or something because that was fun. Well, you can't tell me something like that because I'm a crazy person. Like,
yeah, I mean, she did our tattoos. It was like crazy.
Well, why stop at the red hair? Like at that point. But that was fun. So yeah, we both had cannoli cakes, which I honestly like. If that's what you're wondering, I feel like that's a perfect flavor that have you ever heard of anyone say they don't like the flavor of a cannoli? Come on.
Well, some people might not know what cannoli cake is because I'm learning that a lot of desserts we like are very regional to here, but it's basically just a vanilla cake with like a ricotta mascarpone filling with chocolate chips. I mean, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah, because I'm like a huge chocolate cake person. But I like chocolate, so it's just enough chocolate that it doesn't give you that rich, like, gross taste, and it just tastes fresh, and it's just good.
It's very good. I actually haven't had cannoli cake in a while, and now I'm really craving it, so maybe I'll make it myself one, or maybe I'll make one for Father's Day this weekend.
Yeah, you should, because I'll definitely get in on that.
All right, well, thank you guys so much. Don't forget to buy tickets for the Atlanta meet and greet that is in the description of this episode in the Gross Room on social media. We also have a really special guest coming on tomorrow to talk about Sherry Papini, faking pregnancies, misinformation in TikTok, mental health videos. So that episode's going to be really awesome.
Please stop using the word misinformation.
Deceptive TikTok videos. So that episode's going to be really awesome coming out tomorrow afternoon. And as always, if you could head over to Apple or Spotify, leave us a review or subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have a story for us, please submit it to stories@motherknowsdeath.com.
Have a good night, guys. Thank you for listening to Mother Knows Death. As a reminder, my training is as a pathologist assistant. I have a master's level education and specialize in anatomy and pathology education. I am not a doctor and I have not diagnosed or treated anyone, dead or alive, without the assistance of a licensed medical doctor. This show, my website, and social media accounts are designed to educate and inform people based on my experience working in pathology so they can make healthier decisions regarding their life and well-being. Always remember that science is changing every day, and the opinions expressed in this episode are based on my knowledge of those subjects at the time of publication. If you are having a medical problem, have a medical question, or are having a medical emergency, please contact your physician or visit an urgent care center, emergency room, or hospital. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Mother Knows Death on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks.